Our first speaker needs no introduction because she's the only person whose name figures in the national anthem, right? Jaya, Jaya, Jaya. Jaya is a diminutive and a dynamic person. She's so humble. She said she came in late last night or this morning? Late last night, almost this morning. And she missed the instructions, so she was catching up on the instructions right there. And she said, did you order the speakers in the order of their height? I said, no, it's just a coincidence. But she's so humble to admit that. But in the world of NGOs, right from corporate boardrooms, that's what your introduction says, to remote, rural areas of this country, Jaya has earned a reputation of being a proponent of transformational leadership. And I want you to put your hands together and give a loud round of applause, a welcome to a person who actually belongs to this city. We studied together in Madras Christian College, Jaya Abraham.
Thank you. Morning. They prepared the floor for performers. We have Richard who can dance well. We have Benny who can do multiple things, okay? For some of us who are not performers, probably we'll take a chance to go to both the levels and speak to you. You know, when I asked Pramod, probably they put the speakers in order of their height. And I'm sure as of now, because the speaker next to me is just a wee bit taller than me. I've already got instructions to go to the spotlight, so I'll go there. Yeah, a wee bit taller than me. So I believe it's all going to be in height order. But anyway, God picks up people the way He wants. And this morning, very glad to be here. Though this is supposed to be my home ground, very rarely do I do large conferences here. Thank Joshua and team who have invited me. Today I'm going to share 4 things. See, in the world where I work, I get paid for time that I spend with people. Yeah? I get paid for the time, so it's morning 8 to evening 4 for 8 hours. I charge, they pay me. But there are also places, 50% of the time, where I do 8 hours, they don't pay me, but I do the same amount of work, okay? So I'm going to stick to my time and not get away with your time. You've come on time, and we're going to make sure we give you the best. Today I'm going to share with you all the failures in my life. You don't have to be successful to stand there to declare that I am a part of LeadTalks. And I believe God picks up all our failures for the fulfillment of His mandate of purpose, integrity, and excellence. Let me give you a little background about myself to you. I was born in this very town as the 7th child of a mother and father who came from friends of other faith. They did not belong to the faith which most of you profess here. So they came from another faith, and I was born as a 7th child, unexpected. After 7 years, 6 were already there. They didn't expect me to come, and I arrived, lo and behold, really a big child, 10 pounds, not changed much. Though some people have met me today and said, you've lost lots of weight, Jaya. Then you can imagine how big I was. Yeah. So I was born healthy, and I continue to be healthy. And they expected me to be a boy. And lo and behold, I was born a girl. How many of you are glad to be girls? Yeah, I'm very, very glad to be. I mainly asked for the show of arms because I wanted to see how many women were there. Yeah. So I was born a girl, and I grew up like any other normal Tamil family. Where I ate tire sadam, where I didn't eat meat till I was 40, and my parents grew me up in the ways of the goodness of teaching me the Vedas, the slokas, and all that was required. And yeah, I grew up just like any of you. I was a brilliant child in one way, and I was a real bad child in the other way. One was brilliant. I was pretty good at my studies. Believe me, in Chennai, everybody studies. So it's no big deal, okay? So don't feel proud that you did well, because every parent speaks to the next parent. What are they asking? More than dowry. Hey, my daughter got 99%. How much did your daughter get? And I made sure my parents did not send me to the school where the rest of my 6 siblings went, because for lifetime I would have had to listen, oh, your sister was so good. Oh, your brother was so good. I made sure I went to a school, nobody knew me. I started my slate fresh, okay? Anyway, so till 5th grade, my parents sent me to a co-educational institution, and then they realized I won't turn out to be a woman and a girl that they expected me to be. So they shifted me from a girls' school to a from a co-educational school to a Zenana Mission Scottish girls' school. You go find out the name for yourself. I don't want to say the name and everything now. Because this talk is not about publicity for people or institutions. It's about lifting up the name of Jesus. Yeah. So I went to the school and I disliked it, except for certain things. I liked the fact that we could play a lot. And I liked the fact that I could go to, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, there was torchbearers where they taught us from the Bible, where they taught us songs, anything which was exciting, interested me. So, and I would go for it. And that's how I landed up going to these classes. And lo and behold, when I was about 12, 13, I was stuck with a skin condition, not the current condition that you see. I had another skin condition, and then it was not getting healed. And I'd heard Jesus heals, Jesus delivers, Jesus saves. Okay, it didn't make any big difference to me, but I made a prayer to the Lord before I went to the final doctor, which my torchbearers teacher suggested to me. And lo and behold, on the third day, I got healed. Okay, and I got scared because the karma caught on to my spirit, and I said, oh, I made a deal with Jesus. If he healed me, I'll follow him. If I don't follow, the next one will follow. So let's just follow him. That's how I made my commitment to Jesus, and I started following him. And the first thing which happened in my life was the memory of all my previous scriptures got erased out of my mind the day I came to the Lord. And there began my persecution. All of us are speaking these days a large amount about persecution, but I got persecuted way more than anybody for 12 years at home. And I'm glad that happened, that today I can be so humble. Honestly, till I was 21, I have no shame to share because I read the Bible, my mom beat me. Just fair. For us, she couldn't understand. My dad asked me a question, my appa asked me a question. You fell in love with somebody who loves you more than me? Hello? You're my best apple of the eye, you're my best daughter. How come you found somebody who loves you more than me? Anyway, there started my journey. Unlike most of you from churches, grown in Christian homes, I grew up in the home without going to church for 12 years. The first time I ever started going regularly to church was at 24. Okay? And now after, so that's when I started going. And for the last 27 years, I'm going to the same church. Now, don't break your head in calculating my age. I'm 52, okay? I know some of our minds are overworking, right? And I go to the same church. And I want to say the first purpose. We think, the moment you finish studies, you're going to get into something big. A lot of people who know me are here. Wilfie is here, Ashok is here, large number of other people. Don't think that you don't belong to my core group because your names didn't get mentioned, okay? I'm just saying a few names, okay? People knew I studied well. People knew I did well in my studies. But after my MPhil, everything that I attempted in my life, I didn't make it. Every exam I wrote, final stage I failed. Every interview I went, final stage I failed. And I was seeking the Lord and saying, Lord, what's the purpose? Because as a child, I wrote this beautiful couplet which I used to pray. I used to pray, Lord, give me not name, give me not fame, but please do not put me to shame. I prayed it every day and I said, Lord, wonderful. It looks like beyond shame now. Because everybody around me was getting into everything possible. And that's when the Lord struck me with the first purpose in my life. My first year and first purpose in my life was to take care of my father who was sick. A year I did bedside nursing for my father, and I want to honor God. When you serve His purposes in His way, He will never let it go in vain. 2 years before He passed away, He came to the saving grace of our Lord and Jesus. So I started as a first aid home nurse for my father. Yeah, that was my first purpose I fulfilled. Then, of course, my father said, see, with the principles that you believe in, please get into a job. Any job you get, the first job you get, you go. And you won't believe, I went and did a job way back in 1990 in hotels. I got selected at the Oberoi Center for Learning and Development. For those who are in hotels, it's a big thing. But for me, it was like, excuse me, going back in uniform to be taught after getting an MPhil degree? And what did I do for the first 9 months in the hotel? Because in order for you to become the general manager of the hotel, you got to learn every element of service. So for 6 weeks, I washed toilets. 8 weeks, I made beds. 10 weeks, I carried people's luggage to their rooms. And 3 days a week you do this, and 3 days a week you become the manager of the hotel. It was more humbling than ever before. It was, foot washing is easy. This was really, really bad on me, and I was just getting paid. Let me say it in American dollars, then it sounds good, okay? I was getting paid $30 a month for all this work that I did, and I was managing 66 men, and I was a manager of a particular department in the hotel. Lo and behold, God had this. I started doing something which was in front of me. It didn't need my qualifications. It didn't need my intelligence. It didn't need any of my skills. It just needed common sense. It didn't even need supernatural sense. And I started doing it. And people said, what? You're going and working in hotels? You wanted to become a social worker. You wanted to get into the world of development. What are you doing? Anyway, as I started doing that and I really put my heart to it, I want to get to the next purpose. As I was at that workplace, I said, Lord, help me to start a cell group in this workplace. And I went by this formula. I didn't know mega church and all this, okay? So I knew only one formula. When 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I'm there. So I needed 2 more people with me. And exactly God gave me 2 more people. And every week, Thursday, we would meet and pray in the hotel, in the locker room, in one of the toilets, so that nobody gets disturbed. That's how we started our first cell group. And the owner of the hotel, the owner's son rather, he was a general manager of the hotel, and he said, oh, Jaya, I heard that you do this. His secretary was part of the prayer group. You do this on every Thursday. Why don't you use my room to do it? When you start serving God's purposes, believe me, kings and kingdoms as well as queens will open their floodgates of heaven to give it to you. And that's where we started. And I was a nobody. I was just a manager. Positions do not matter for purpose in God's kingdom. You can be a peon and you can be the sweeper in your city and you can make still an impact and influence. Yeah, that was my starting stages. I did 11 years of hotels and then so that was my first failure. But the fulfillment was God was establishing His kingdom wherever He took me. And and for my parents, coming from a background that I am, for them to tell people my daughter works in the hotel was very, very harsh. Very, very harsh. And I didn't get qualified to work in a hotel. Anyway, 11 years I did that, and then lo and behold, okay, let me give you a little masala in between this 11 years. So all of you are worried if most of you know that I'm married, yeah? And so when I came to the saving grace, I said, Lord, in order to fulfill your purposes, I definitely want to marry a man who knows you, who follows you, who understands you, who will be, I don't care which background he comes from, but he has to know Jesus. And I started praying as young as I was because I knew I didn't want to be a celibate, okay? So I knew I wanted to get married. And I got the best of proposals from the world that my parents came from. And to each of them, I would say, hey, you're a great guy, but I just want to tell you that you told your story to me. My story is this, so I'll marry a man who only knows Jesus. And everybody used to go. First time they saw women rejecting men, and they were going, yeah? So anyway, and the Lord was so good. He picked up a man. I didn't need to go after anybody. And God picked up a man whose father, that time to be my father-in-law, yeah, wrote a letter to my parents, okay? And he asked me for his son to get married to. And I thought that's where the ice broke. And anyway, for 1 year, there was a large struggles. For those of you who are sitting here from other communities, looking even amongst us as Christians to get married to Christians, I just want to tell you, after a year of wait, my entire family was in Bombay. My father led me down the aisle and I got married. And remember, I was still in 2,200 rupees salary, okay? And we got married just spending. When you want to fulfill the purposes of God, you don't start life in debt. So we got married just spending 24,000 rupees. At our wedding, you just got rice, chicken, paneer, and little ice cream. That was it. People come to bless the wedding and not to have the last meal for their life. Yeah. So and people wedding is one day, marriage is lifetime, and we are spending all our money on the wedding day. So if you have a tip to catch their purposes to be able to steward what God has given to you. Let me go on to a little bit to the whole element of integrity, where I learned integrity. Next 4-5 minutes, I'll speak on integrity. The first time I really faced understanding integrity was, I was working at the Oberoi, and a chair, the chairs have wheels, casters. It had run over my feet, and my feet had got septic. It was just a week before my wedding. or our wedding, sorry, before our wedding. And so I was resting in one of our homes in the church and church families. And my boss at that time sent the doctor of the hotel to come and check on me if I was really sick. You know, for all of you, it's shocking. You would have got so angry, you would have got so upset. The Lord spoke to me and said, Jaya, see how serious she takes her work. Though she knows you're sincere, still she's making sure to check if you're really well or you're faffing around. And that's where I learned, you know, always God works flip-flop for us to understand things in life. And that's where I learned integrity. And it went a long way for me to say, I want to be sincere to the work I am called. Okay? So I want to share 2 stories on integrity that God really helped me to stand out for Him. For 4 years, see, Pramod made me sound like a social activist. I'm happy with that. Okay? But I also want to say that I did decent work with the corporate world. Okay? Where I earned my bread and butter. Okay, for 4 years I was working with a power company establishing wind and solar power plants across the country. And we had to get land. So all the land you get in a village, the NOC first happens with the village panchayat guy. Okay? The panchayat president has to sign off for you, and then you go to the collector, and then you get the land allocated to you, and then you start the process of setting up. So the first time I met this village panchayat man, he sat around across to me, and my Hindi is worse than any other language that I can speak, okay? You'll have not heard it, so don't worry, because we grew up in the time when we didn't learn Hindi. This guy sat across me and he said, hey, listen, madam, give me 85 lakhs, I'll give you the land. I said, wow. First I went and calculated, we are a startup company, where's the 85 lakhs going to come from? And I'm nobody to tell my boss don't give, because the boss didn't recruit me for me to preach to him about no bribe. My boss recruited me to actually ensure that the land is got, the power plant is established, and we don't play penalty and we start making the money. Remember, Jewish bosses and Marwadi bosses are same. I work with Marwadi bosses always, okay? And my husband works with a Jewish boss. So we have a fantastic combination at home. Anyway, and I said, okay, I will not give you, you go do what you want. And I was living in this village, anything could happen to me. Yeah, and I really prayed. So he delayed for 4 months, didn't give us a NOC. And the collector was a fantastic man, like our Wilfred here. He said, Jaya, you wait. I'll make sure you do it, because you are standing for something, and I will stand with you, don't worry. So anyway, one fine day, it was Diwali, and all our people went for their family time. And since I don't celebrate officially Diwali, I go to the sites to be the site director at that time. So I was a site director at the time, and this guy comes across, and he brings Diwali sweets, and I'm scared. I said, I don't want to be a Nehemiah taster. It might be poison. Let's not eat it. You know, so, lots of things start working in you when you work in places like that. I want to tell you, okay? And then he comes across, and he sits from nowhere, out of the blue, he tells me, madam, take it. Here is the NOC. I've signed it. I don't want any money. And I want to tell you, when you pray and you seek God, God will do things the way He wants to do it for you. You are no miracle worker. You're just standing firm there for His kingdom to be lifted up. And then we established that power plant in the shortest possible time in the country, anywhere in the country. In 51 days, we did a 5 megawatts. Yeah, so the next one, we were establishing the largest single unit solar 150 megawatts in a place called as Neemuch, which is actually the opium capital of India. Okay? It's in the border of Rajasthan and MP. And there we were trying to get certain international institutions to sponsor us. And you won't believe, for 3 days when they came to inspect, you know how you get ready for inspections? You're all like, picture perfect. Nobody can find any mistake with you. And lo and behold, the rains came. Everything was anything but picture perfect. So for 3 days, I had to go around with them, and I had to ensure all that we had said actually exists, but it's all getting washed out because of the unforeseen rains. But I want to thank God without saying too many things, okay? 3 days as we spent time with them, the first thing that I had, being able to fulfill the purpose of God, there were 3 women from this international team who were continuously with me, and I had the opportunity to share the gospel with them, and all the 3 accepted Lord Jesus Christ. And I said, this is not the bribe I want to pay to get the contracts, okay? And I said, the contract is more important, yeah? And as we continued, we kept in touch and everything. But ultimately, we were the company which got the first distribution from an international institution for actually setting up a power plant. When you get a distribution like that, you get 0.25% of your incentive into your interest levels if you get your social development well. And by God's grace, God enabled me to get the social development well, and that's how we got that plant up and running. And by the way, where God puts you when you work out of purpose and integrity, He will allow you to excel for Him. He will allow you to really establish things which are beyond your understanding. I want to give you one story from my end about how excellence we practiced as family. Wherever I worked, for me, the team is my family. I never did team meetings in the office. I did all the team meetings at home. Remember, in your turf, you're the boss. And when in your turf, when Jesus is the boss, it's a crazy added advantage for you. And because I used to do the team meetings at home. And how did God enable me to impart excellence to them in order to think of people? We made our home open. And let me tell you, to have an open home, you don't need a palace. Our first open home was 365 square feet in Bombay, all inclusive. Okay? And I still remember, we used to do things which were crazy. We had a kids club on Thursday. We had a office meeting on Saturday. Then every Sunday, we would make food for extra 10 people. Be it office, be it from church, people would come. And when we started doing this, and especially when we started having team meetings at home, people started seeing the way we did life at home, the way we were able to love them, in spite. Remember, none of us are perfect. Okay? And once people found that resource of love in you, they started really looking at our home as an available refuge. And one of the stories I want to tell you, the first girl who came to stay in our house as an open house, when we got a big house where we are living currently, okay, for Bombay standards, where I live is big. No, may not be for Chennai standards. So please accept what I say as big right now, okay? So this girl came to live. We didn't invite her. My boss, who's not even a Christian, sends her and says, Abraham and Jaya keep people in their house, so please go and stay. You're getting anyway badly violated by your husband, so you please go stay with Jaya. For first 40 days, she came and stayed with me without me inviting her because my boss thinks I have to make her stay in my house. That's how our journey of open homes started with our employees and with our workers. The person who has stayed the longest with us is for 22 months, 2 months short of 2 years. And I'll tell you something. When you give what you have in your hand with excellence for His purposes, with absolute stewarding, God multiplies everything in your life. For 22 months, He stayed with us. And remember, when people stay with us, they do life with us. That is, if you go for a movie, they come with us. We don't have biological children. We have a lot of spiritual children. So they come with us for the movie. They come with us on our holiday. So we went on this holiday to Goa, which is our favorite holiday destination. And my husband had taken a one-room suite. Okay, the current room suites are all, you know how one door it just closes. It's not the interconnecting door. And I said, my Lord, 6 days we are going to live like this. He's going to be in that room and we are going to be in this room. My husband said, yeah. That's how we stay at home. So what's the sudden problem? Okay, holiday, I suddenly had a new vision of what is to be bigness. And then the hotel calls me and says, hey, ma'am, you've got a special card and we may be able to offer you another room. My husband said, no, it's all settled, Jay, don't bother. I said, no, I want to go see. And then when I go and see this room, they open this room. It happens to be the presidential suite in the hotel, 3,600 square feet. Everybody could play football in that room. That's where I really learned about lavish. When you fulfill the purposes of God at work, with integrity and excellence, God will lavish your barns, never lacking any good thing for His kingdom. I want to end by saying something. What's my ultimate pie formula for my life? You know, I want to be the shoulders on which others will grow tall. I can never grow shorter because from 8th class, I never grew tall. Okay? 1. I want to be the person who will be able to love people with that same love Jesus can pour into our hearts. It doesn't have to be a full-time minister. You can fulfill the mandate being a full-time shepherd in your workplaces. That's what you and I are called for. I want to be the person who can set people free. I want to be the person who's comfortable with the pauper, with the prince, with the prime minister, with everybody. And above it all, I want to be remembered as that person who never chose not to love one person, despite the cutthroat competition of the world of work we are in. And so today when I work 50% paid jobs and 50% I do voluntary assignments. And that keeps me on track to be a person of purpose, integrity, and excellence. Thank you for listening to me. Repeat after me. I'm not yet done. I have 1 minute, 24 seconds still. Repeat after me. Bananas, bananas, bananas. You can be a little louder. I'm sure you had your idiyappam and your appam and your idli and your vada. Bananas, bananas, bananas. One last time. Bananas, bananas, bananas. You are a lovely bunch. Thank you.
Jaya, please hang on, Jaya. Jaya, give her a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. What a dynamic, sincere woman of God Jaya is. What a joy it was. You're an explosive opening batswoman. You know, you're just tremendous. That's the best that we could have hoped for, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Give her a real big hand. I'm going to ask Alfred and Ria to kindly come forward and to honor Jaya with a little token of our gratitude. Please come to the center. The shutterbugs are here. Jaya, it's a typical LeadTalks memento. You're going to put it up in your 365 square foot home. And I hope it doesn't take much space. But it's pretty big. You could also put it up in the toilet where you had your first prayer meeting. But thank you very much, Jaya, for the lovely, lovely talk. Jaya, you know, when you were pacing up the stage here, I was a little nervous. You know why, right? Can I tell them, Jaya? Yeah? Can I tell them how you fell at that other conference? Yeah? Is it okay? I'll give a spiritual dimension to it. Yeah? Because I asked you before, you didn't say anything. I'll make it sound like the Lord put that burden. Yeah? It's okay? They'll pray about you. Is that okay? Yeah? Can I tell them? Yeah. I'll tell you in a very spiritual way. In October 2011, I thought the rapture had occurred. Because I was standing up on a stage. It was bigger than this. It was at least 3 feet high. And I came in after Jaya spoke, and it was, as usual, a really powerful talk. And I came there and I asked the crowd, they were almost on their feet. It was an international crowd. And these are the perils of being an MC, I tell you. And I said, put your hands together for Jaya Abraham. Because she wasn't there. She had walked off the stage, not where the steps were. She had chosen to walk off the stage at a different place. And like a typical cartoon, can I go into the complete details, Jaya? Yeah. She walked for a few feet in the air. And then she fell on all fours. And in that 2 seconds where I was wondering Jaya was, my mind was racing. I thought the rapture had occurred. Because at that time, there was this threat of the asteroid. And then I was scanning the audience to see, why am I the only person here? How come so many other men of God? A lot of things went on in my mind. But then in 2 seconds, Jaya got up. And that's how the saga of her life has been. She's fallen several times. She always gets up. She gets up stronger. Then let's give a huge applause to Jaya.